Welcome to the Locker, Season 2, Episode 56. I heard an echo. I'm the host, A. White, with my man B. Styles. And as you can see, we got the guest, cut to the chase, author and writer. And what else are you known for, Al?
A lot of hot air on TV.
Yeah.
A friend of Larry Vault.
Former reporter. And the Dr. John Huang. Glad to have you both. Let our people know this is going to be one of the more interesting shows. So I suggest you sit back and take in everything. This is going to be an interesting 60 minutes or so. So we're going to start with, I want to start off with, you guys both announce yourself as retired. Alan, I know is kind of retired because I haven't seen him in the locker rooms and at the media availabilities. But exactly what are you retired from, Alan? Are you retired from everything? Are you retired from the media, the book writing?
I'm retired.
So you don't work at all?
It's that simple. No. I'll read sports every day, because I love sports, and I'll, do a little stuff on Twitter, a little stuff on Facebook, playing around. But no, it's a really tough life. I'm so busy. I don't know how I was able to survive when I was working 65 to 80 hours a week, and then with the Bengals, it ended up being 95 to 100 hours a week. I'm not kidding. I don't know how I did it. I'm busy doing nothing.
Doc, you said you were retired when we talked prior to the show. And are you still practicing or are you not?
I am not practicing dentistry anymore. But before we get into that, I want to give a proper introduction, Anthony. Anthony Van, I want to thank you for letting us on here. My parents always taught me that when you're invited as a guest into somebody's house, that you need to bring a nice gift.
Oh.
So I brought you guys a very nice housewarming present in the form of Alan Cutler. He is the gift that keeps on giving. I just hope that he's going to let me say a few more words during the rest of this hour.
Wow.
Alan, I just want a couple of sentences. That's all. Just a couple of sentences, please.
Well,
hey guys, he said he made some tea tonight in case his voice went out, and I said, "You gonna talk? Why'd you make tea for? Through the throat? You never talk."
I know how these things work. When you have Cutler on, you just wind him up and let him go. Just talk. In fact, I came prepared today. I brought my Kindle. In case it gets quiet over here, I'm going to multitask. I'm going to read. You just tap me on the shoulder when you need me to say something. You may not hear from me for the rest of the show.
Well, Doc, I will say this. You already surpassed those 26 words that Vinny Hardy had on. So you have won that bet. So let's cash that in. Let's share about 80-20.
I'm gonna start off on a small direction. I'm gonna start it off this way. I was debating what I was gonna ask you about the past, but I want to start at the present. I'm gonna start here. What are you guys? I guess Alan, what is your take right now of the state of UK football? And I'm going to preface it with this: the athletes we have, the depth we have, along with the quarterback position, as well as the off the field problems with the 6 guys in trouble, the coaches being in trouble. Where do you all? Well, I know I can't get a nutshell out of these, so you don't give me a nutshell. Give me Alan Cutler answer to where do you think the state of UK football is in totality?
Well, let's talk on the field for a second first. There's questions for every team every year going into September, except for Alabama. You just reload. A couple of schools reload, not 8 maybe. But Kentucky has a lot of kids who've never played much who are stepping up. What is amazing to me is look at the NFL and look at all the kids that were drafted by Kentucky last year on defense that are actually going to play some this year. And maybe like Eccles and the Jets starting. I mean, think about all the guys they left, and they've done such a good job of having backups who were now seniors and waiting for their opportunity. The point being is when he got hired, the day Stoops got hired, I went live on TV and I said, excuse me, it wasn't live, it was a tape thing. And I said, if he's any good, if was the word I used, if Stoops is any good, it's going to take him 5 years because how bad the team really was. And if you have a great recruiting year, you're not going to go against an Alabama or Tennessee with 5 freshmen starting offensive linemen. You got a redshirt, 5 years. And they have done as good of a job of recruiting and developing as anyone since Brooks, and maybe even better. And I'm not ready to say that, but it's pretty close because I think if Rich Brooks stayed, which I think he still wanted, the story for another day, had he stayed, that bull run would have continued. It wouldn't have been Jokerish, get it? Jokerish. And then perhaps as good as Rich's legacy is, and I have a ton of respect for Rich, by the way, it would be even better. So that's kind of the unknown. Suppose Rich Brooks coached for another 5 years. And by the way, that's not as crazy as you think if you really know what went on. Now, suppose he coached for 5 more years and went to 5 more bowl games. Do you think that layered effect that he had created with some great players who had great attitudes and a lot of really good students, you think I might not be able to say that now, Stoops? Probably not. But I got to tell you, if you look what Stoops has done, this could be, and not everything's going to fall into place. It never does. But this could be the best team on the field. Off the field, I'm probably more disappointed in the coaches that got in trouble than the players because you can't have a double standard. On the one hand, I'm not trying to ruin anybody's life, but with some of the problems they've had in the coaching staff, now they're supposed to be role models for players, if you believe that sort of thing really still exists. I have more trouble in that than the players. Here's my thing with the players. I don't know what went on. I know wasn't some good things that went on. I don't know who started it. I don't know what the reaction was. We might never know. So who was the player? Rich Brooks was the coach, and there was a player who was a really good kid. I'm going blank. Maybe you guys can remember. Got in trouble, and Rich Brooks got in front of the media, and he said, look, let me tell you something. Don't judge this kid until – he's a really good player too. I'm sorry I'm going blank. Don't judge this player until we find out what really happened. And it turned out nothing really happened. And so what I think everybody should do, which nobody likes to do in today's society because it's not good for sports talk fodder, take a chill pill. Let's see what these kids did or maybe didn't do and then judge from there. Should there be some discipline? Absolutely. How much? I don't know because you guys don't know because you don't know what they did. So until you know what they did, I think you got to take a chill pill. There's a problem. But I like what Stoops says. He believes in how he's built the culture of the program. And if you believe that, then you're going to say things will be okay. And by the way, if you check a lot of other schools have problems, but it doesn't make sports talk radio in Lexington, doesn't make podcasts in Lexington, doesn't make the Herald Leader, unless it's a huge thing about another SEC school. It's got to be huge. So you have that many young people, you at times are going to have problems. You got adults coaching, you had problems.
Dr. Huang,
no comment on that? Agree, disagree?
I agree with most of it. I want to get his opinion before we throw it around the horn.
No, he's already had 20. No. He's already had 26 words. You can get rid of it.
No, I also want to know, like I said, I want to know his opinion on what he thinks what the state is. But before you answer that, is this the first time you guys have heard of any decade football players getting into it with frat guys?
You mean officially, like on the police blotter? I think unofficially it happens all the time.
To the police, I never known to make to the police blotter. That was my point.
Okay, Anthony. Now you're the player. Don't be naive now. Okay. Let me tell you what happened at the #1 school in Pennsylvania, where they had a legendary coach. Okay. So if a kid got in trouble, you know what the cops would do?
Call
Paterno.
Right.
Okay. Do you not think back in the 70s and the 60s and the 50s and whatever that there weren't some problems with guys being guys? Come on. Of course there was. They just didn't make the headlines. It just, once it hits the media, boom. Look, come on. And now I'm going to turn on you guys. So don't be a phony. I don't care if it's your show now. How many times do you guys know of teammates who did stuff that you knew if the media found out or I put it on TV, your blank would have been blank? Come on. Didn't that happen when you guys played?
No.
Never.
Well,
Well,
No.
you know what? Hey,
Never.
hey, let me tell you something. Your nose is not going to grow longer than mine. I always thought you were a straight up honest guy. I've lost respect. No, there isn't a UK team in history that didn't have some things that if a TV camera showed up, it would blown up. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm telling you the truth.
No, I have to say that because then that's an excuse for going 1-10 because we were all great kids, choir boys, never did anything wrong, straight and narrow, and because we were such good kids, that's why we went 1-10. That's that. I'm gonna stick to that until I die.
Yeah.
That's opposed to Fran Kersey's team going 10-1. I guess they could do just the opposite, right? Because they were all over the police blotters.
Right.
That's not the story. This other story is how many
Hell,
times
that was even before your
happened
time.
that
Come
never
on.
got public. But look, I know some of the guys from back then, and I know a few of the stories. And you know what you end up doing now? You laugh about them, right? You laugh about them.
No, there was a fight. Like I said this afternoon, the frat row was right behind K1. Trust me, we had many encounters with that frat row every freaking year. So that
wait a second. How many times was it like, somebody who might have had a beer or two on a Friday night, maybe it was a Tuesday, it was a big guy who said, "You're a football player, you're not as tough as you think." I mean, did some of that stuff happen? Well, you don't think that stuff happened in the 70s? You don't think it happened in the 60s? You don't think it happened after World War II with a lot of vets coming over and a lot of older guys playing football? Are you crazy? This stuff is not new. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but don't give me this naive crap because I thought the two of you in particular were straight up. So now you turn into a podcast and you're as soft as anybody who ever worked at Channel 27.
No, that was all right. There's a lot of things. There were some 2 keys incidents. There were a lot of incidents that going on. Trust me. We had a good snowball issue with the baseball team in one of those frats one winter, and it got nasty.
You know what got me angry about that? I found out this day. And somebody called me up and I checked it out. And it was true. And I'm going, I don't have any footage. If this were today, I'd have somebody would have some cell phone stuff, right?
Yes.
So I'm going, oh my gosh, video, TV. It would be a great story. I'm going, why didn't you call me when it was going on? We would have ran out there with a camera.
Right. No, shoes. I'm glad we didn't have cameras because
you just proved my point. And by the way, some stuff that goes on, that doesn't mean anybody's a bad guy or whatever. Now, with the 6 UK players, now we have to see what that was. That's different than a frat thing and a football thing and, that kind of thing.
The only thing with that issue is the firearm. If there's no firearm, this means nothing. This is just 18 to 23-year-olds just having a good meeting and exchanging rhetoric. That's all.
I'm going to agree. I'm going to disagree. If there's no firearm, I'm with you. Let's say certain things were said to incite things which can cause a greater problem. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it wasn't. So in other words, I agree with you. If there's no gun, what is this all really about? And so we need more information in fairness to everybody involved. But, I've heard stuff that there's no gun involved. I'm not playing reporter. I have no idea. But you're right. If there's no gun involved, all this did was get UK some bad publicity that perhaps wasn't necessary.
Well, I'm going to say this. Something was provoked him because you don't have 3 guys come and then they go and get 3 more guys.
Right.
So in order to get 3 more guys, you have to tell them, hey, man, these guys did something. Hey, y'all got to come and help us. So
that was my reaction. And I'm sure when they said they needed more help, it was a little louder with different words and vernacular that you might have used.
No. Listen, guys, look, there are some guys over in the frat row that have said some rude things to us. And can you come and help us? That's the word that was said between us.
Well, hold on. Let me get to the real point. And I don't appreciate Mr. Cutler saying that we. Here's one thing. This is your first locker experience. You can't say we when you speak about me and Van. I don't agree with Van 90% of the time. So Van's comments are Van's comments alone.
Would you be kind enough to accept my apology?
Yeah, I also want to apologize for Alan, because I've heard Anthony and I've heard Van on some of these other shows. And even though you guys are true blue, you don't view everything through blue colored glasses. So I appreciate both of you guys keeping it real.
I appreciate that. Me more real than that guy over there, though.
The real question you guys aren't asking, and I'm surprised more at Mr. Cutler than I am at Van. You guys are talking about how it got to the news, what the real story is. The fact that all this stuff is getting to the news is the same thing that was going on with the Cincinnati Bengals when players were getting pulled over with DUIs all the time. If Bo Knight gets pulled over in Northern Kentucky at 3 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning, in Lexington or typically, who's the first person they call? The coach. So how does the coach not get called first? And if the coach doesn't get called first, how does the media get there first? So I don't know what the connection is with the media. I don't know if the coaching staff has rubbed somebody the wrong way, but there is too much information getting to the media that back in my day.
Hang on a second. Once you're pulled over in every TV newsroom, okay, in the Herald Leader, okay, in the Courier, they've got the cop thing on. They're listening. And so when a guy's getting pulled over and you hear a name, and guess what? It's somebody's job to immediately respond. That's how it's out there. And what's happened is news departments, I don't remember the year, but it wasn't like that when I first got here in the early 80s. It changed. Everybody's become more aggressive with stuff. So I can't tell you if Stoops was called first or not. I wouldn't be surprised if Stoops was called before he called a lawyer. But it's already out there. I mean,
so Alan, why are we not finding out about these things until like 3 or 6 months later? If the media is so aggressive about that.
Two things here, and the media can be bad too. Two things here. I was responding to the assistant coach who got pulled over. I thought that's what Adrian was talking about. As far as the 6 players, I think honestly, and if I was in TV right now, would include me in it because fair is fair. The media did a lousy job not finding out before this came out. This should have been found out. Now, the other thing is that I'm really curious, was this possibly on a scanner and nobody picked it up? If the police were called, yes, how did nobody pick it up? Unless, and I can tell you this, my TV station was no different from the others. I don't even know what time the incident is. Maybe you guys do. But if it's well after midnight, there's not a lot of people listening. And there's usually somebody overnight who's good, but things slip. And so I wonder if they just didn't hear it. That's the part that baffles me. There's no question the media did a terrible job. And if I was sitting at Channel 18 right now, you could point a finger at me because fair is fair.
I wonder if they knew the names of the players that were there. I wonder if the players left. That's what I was thinking.
Possible, but there's enough people out there who will listen that somebody should know somebody. In other words, I see your point and it makes sense, but now think of all the people that are listening to this. It's a lot of organizations. It's not a weekly newspaper, and no disrespect to them, it's not what they do. But any of the dailies, somebody working overnight, TV stations, various radio stations. I don't even know if there were 3. WLW Cincinnati heard it. They have somebody there, unless it's changed since I was working there. They had somebody there that part of the night that would listen for stuff like that. That was a news person, whatever. So media blew it. Unless I know more, I'd say the media blew it.
Yeah, I think somebody parent has a connection with the Lexington Police Department, and they started pressing charges late. I honestly think this was done on purpose to do it late. I really do. I think that's someone brought it up to the higher ups late in the game to do it on purpose because their kid was embarrassed, and that's what happens sometimes in these situations.
Yeah, the
I don't
scary
know if I
part
wait that
with
long.
that is that as they start investigating these things, oftentimes a lot of additional factors come into play. They find things that they start looking for snakes under rocks, and before you know it, you get bitten by something else. So I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed from that aspect. I hope nothing more comes out of it than just a fight and a gun, which is bad enough, but it could be worse.
If a player brought a gun, you don't think that would have been immediate? Like that's the one that gets me. If
I'm with you on that. If there was a gun and the media didn't pick it up, that smells fishy really bad. I couldn't agree with you more.
So that's why I'm saying someone's parent has a little influence, and that's the only thing. Because if you had a gun,
but in today's times, man, and it's different than the quote unquote good old days, even before you guys. If it ever leaked out that a parent used influence, that person's career who helped out would be done. And with as many things as gets reported now, I'm going to be naive and say that couldn't happen. I would think the probability of that happening today is much less than 20, 30 years ago, even 40 years ago when you guys played.
But Van, I think that's consistent with the timeline that we're seeing. You know, they're thinking that this whole situation is going to die down, nothing's going to come of it. And then all of a sudden, some parent gets a wild hair or gets irritated in some way and decides that they want to press charges after all. So 6 months later, this whole thing starts bubbling up again.
2 weeks before the season starts. It's just a little fishy to me. 2 weeks before the season starts, now this comes out, it reeks to me.
Okay, I'm with you on that. The coincidence is bad.
Yeah, I don't want to harp on that whole subject. The other thing along the lines with the guns and just being an uncle and having a sister and a niece is the fact they keep saying that, well, one of them punched a girl. I don't think you carry that on 5 months. The girl's father or somebody should be something, I think, if they know who the player is and it actually happened. It's not as bad as somebody brandishing a weapon to somebody's face, but that is the next thing that's important. 2 guys throwing fisticuffs, I can deal with. You know, some bumps and bruises, but hitting a woman and brandishing a weapon, I don't think those things can be held out till we figure this out. And I think those things should be immediately addressed.
What's up,
agree, Coach
man.
Stewart?
What's up,
okay.
Stu?
So we're going to ask you
Okay,
this.
real quick. What football game did Stu intercept the pass and take it back the other way? Ran about 9,000 yards, and I thought he was going to need oxygen, but he kept his speed up really good. Remember the touchdown he had?
Alabama.
Was it Alabama?
He's deceptively fast. So he's pretty fast for a guy that size.
I like when people put that caveat. For a guy that size, he was pretty fast.
He had to have a caveat. You know, because he played up north, people don't realize what kind of career he had in Canada. He was a star in Canada playing defense for a long time.
When you win defensive MVP of any league, you're special. And to do it twice, that means you're extra special.
You know, Doc's greatest accomplishment, I call him Doc, John, his greatest accomplishment is winning that award in Pop Warner football. You should have seen what kind of athlete he was back then.
As long as it was MVP, I'm good with it.
All right.
That is true.
You haven't asked a word about the book. We've been on for 49 minutes, not a word about the book.
What book?
No, we haven't asked you about the book yet.
Are you guys writing the book?
We have to preference. You know what this? You know, I keep looking off to the side. We have to preface.
You're like me. You can't read your scribbled notes.
We have to preface it with what's going on now because the book doesn't have any 2021 and 2020 stuff in it.
It doesn't even have any 1993 stuff.
It's got a lot of UK stories in it that the public doesn't know.
All right, well, let me get this out of the way, and I was going to give you the next 30.
I'm just going to throw a tease at you because I know you didn't read the book. Do you know there was a UK football coach whose career changed because of a trip to the bathroom? You didn't read the book.
Yeah. I have a couple of questions, other ones, because
a commissioner walked in and told him what he shouldn't stop and what he shouldn't do, and he listened. And it had to do with the NCAA. But anyway, you guys go first.
Well, we're going to okay. I'm
Threw him off. Threw him off. Threw him off.
No, I'm not getting thrown off. I'm just making sure that y'all not going to cut me off again before I start talking. Okay, so what do you guys feel like the state of UK basketball is currently after last season? Was it an anomaly? Are we going to bounce back, or has Cal been exposed? Because that was going to lead us into the book, Mr. Cutler.
Here's what happened with Cal. I say this with kindness and not to be mean to anybody. He's got a much better recruiting staff. He has much better assistant coaches for that particular capacity. That's one change. Second change is they are loaded, okay? On paper, this could be a really special team. Everything is on paper. But I got to tell you, it's fair to question Cal in the future after last year. It's fair. Except this guy's had 9 lives, and he's reinvented himself many times. And I got to tell you, they're going to have a problem that not a single person has spoken about. You want to know what that is? They got too many players. You bring in a transfer from Iowa, and if he doesn't get 30 minutes because he was starting for a long time in the Big Ten, you're going to have – if he keeps the chemistry together on this one, it's going to be spectacular. I know what I'd like for them to do that he never does. I would have them run nonstop because he's got about 9 players, and just let them run, and make them run back on defense. And I'm not saying platoon it like hockey, but no, I think they're loaded. There's no question they're loaded. If you don't think they're loaded, then you really don't know these guys. You don't know basketball players. You don't know what you're talking about. If you want to say last year was awful, you're right. If you want to say some highly recruited players underachieved tremendously, absolutely true. But I'm going to give those kids last year a pass because COVID. I'm just going to. Because the culture that they start with lifting weights wasn't there. You know, and especially you got somebody like Boston, who is physically weak. Can I say that without insulting anybody? He was weak.
Yes.
Okay? It's not like that summer workout with lifting weights was going to make him into a He-Man. But you know what? He would have gotten so much stronger in comparison to where he was. It's not even funny. Here's what else would have happened. How many stars who played basketball in high school really have the right work ethic? It's easy for most of these guys to score. And do you think their coach wants them to foul out? You think they're going to play the kind of defense you have to here? They have no clue how hard they have to work. They don't. And I'm not ripping anybody. I'm at 10 of these kids. And it's been like that for a long time. So the summer stuff really sets up the culture. And guess what? He had no culture last year. And a lot of the toughness that some of these young freshmen would have gotten to help couldn't be there because they didn't have the summer. Guess what? Everybody else had to deal with it. And they did an awful job. It was awful. But you know what? I know this is Kentucky, but Adolph Rupp had a couple bad years, believe it or not. And there were times people wanted to run Joe Hall out of town. Yeah, I guess somebody wanted to run Billy Gillespie out of town, but that's neither here nor there.
So am I hearing that you're saying they're loaded, which I heard people say? How long's Cal been here? 10 years. So out of the 10 years, I've heard he's been loaded at least 8 of them. So now the fact you said he's loaded, if we have a Sweet 16 season or less, then at that point is Cal who he is, or are you gonna find another reason to give him an excuse why they didn't achieve a Final Four or a championship?
Well, there's a couple things here. Let's see how the season goes. 1, 2. I said this while I was on TV, and I've been retired a long time ago. That if he doesn't win another national championship, I said this on TV years ago. If he doesn't win another national championship, people will think he disappointed here because of all the high recruits. Now, there's 2 things here. I think he blew a couple national championships in my mind. Kentucky should have at least 3 championships during his time, and he thinks so too. I mean, that loss to West Virginia is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. I'm sitting courtside, and their best player was a second-round draft choice for the Lakers, listed at 6'8", and he was 6'8" like I'm 6'6". Give me a break. And they couldn't get the ball to Cousins. And I'm sitting there, and I'm going, and Cal Perry got his blank out coached by Huggins, who's always had his number. He's always had his number. I know about this rivalry from way back. It's just certain guys. It's like certain football players. Did you guys ever play better against a certain team?
Of course.
That ever happened to you? It happens to a lot of players.
Of course.
Certain coaches just have the upper hand in certain coaches. Cal has the upper hand on coaches. No question about it. You don't talk about that. You talk about the one that Cal doesn't have an upper hand in. Bob Huggins, by the way, was an academic All-American. Nobody kind of realizes that. He's really smart. He was born into doing this. I know Hugs a little. He's really smart. He's got Cal's number. They should have beaten West Virginia and won the national championship. And you want to tell me if Euless and some guy in Phoenix who's, probably at the point, all his money so far will be over $200 million, would have played in the game from 5 minutes on against Wisconsin, do I still think Kentucky would have won? Yes. So has Cal missed some opportunities? Absolutely. Absolutely. Didn't that answer your question?
Yeah, Anthony, I'm worried, and I don't think the team is loaded at the 5 position. I think that's something that we have to watch. I'm a Warrior, and the story of my life is bad timing. I've got another Kentucky basketball book coming out this year, and I was hoping to have this grand launch, history of greatest program tradition in the history of college basketball. The year before, the team goes 9-16. So, hey, it's just bad luck.
I'm putting out a book in this.
I'm worried. They've got to rebound.
These guys need to know worry about everything. And by the way, if you want to say Kentucky has problems at the 5, you might be right. You might be wrong. But here's the point. How many colleges are really strong at the 5? And if they lose in a Sweet 16 to someone and get upset like you guys were thinking about, the odds are it's not going to be because the other team had a 5. Because if it's a huge, the odds of them having a 5 is not that strong. So, Doc, stop. This team is absolutely unequivocally loaded. Now, does that mean they win a national championship? No. But they're loaded to the point that they should be dangerous. But I'll tell you what, the league is so much better now than it was 6-7 years ago. It's not even funny. The league was soft.
They are loaded, man. They are, and the thing about it is Cal and Stoops has done the best job of going into the portal and getting guys that fit what they need. And we got a ton, or as I say, a shit ton of shooters. We have guards who can. This team is well balanced. It's not like you have a couple superstars. We got a well balanced team. This team should go to Elite 8. Now, we all know how basketball goes. If it was the best 3 out of 5, Cal would have won 3, definitely. But one game, anything can happen.
I do want to point out that you heard the way Alan was talking about Calipari. He was kind of semi-ripping him, and that's Cutler. He's going to tell it like it is, and he does that in the book. Calipari, the guy writes the foreword for our book, and Cutler still rips the guy. So that's how interesting the book is. Cut to the chase.
Well, and I appreciate that because there's no whole bars. But by the same token, too, and I'm not saying keep the other side, I got a ton of respect for Cal. But has he overachieved here? No. But I will tell you this: that first recruiting class to put together in about 2 minutes. That's about what he had. Of Wall and Cousins and that whole group, I have never in my career seen anything like that at any school, at any time, at any place. Because, here's what everyone forgets. Suppose Mitch Barnhart hired another Billy Gillespie. and don't think that couldn't have happened, by the way. Okay? Because Cal wanted the job the first time, and they didn't want Cal. Right. That's the truth. It's in the book. I'm the one that told Cal he wasn't getting the job.
Well, hold on.
Because Anthony, you didn't read the book, but that's neither here nor there. But let me tell you something. Even though this is basketball, for people to think that Kentucky will always be Kentucky because it's been Kentucky, odds are it's going to be true. But to say that absolute is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, where's J.C. Penney? When we were kids, J.C. Penney was like a big, powerful thing. It's J.C. who? Look, there's no guarantee. Look, the guy who replaces Cal better be damn good because guess what? The recruits around, they don't know about the history of Kentucky basketball. Right. Most of these guys, they have no idea. You think John Wall came here because of the history of Kentucky basketball? You think DeMarcus Cousins came here because of the history of Kentucky basketball? You think Eric Bledsoe, who at times was living in a car because he was so poor and what he went through, was coming here because of the history of Kentucky basketball? Some of these fans have rocks in their head. Now, because Kentucky being Kentucky, they were able to lure John Calipari, who then had the best resources in the world. And John's a great salesman. But let's call it like it is. I hope Kentucky's Kentucky 50 years from now, and I'm still following them. That would be a miracle in itself. But to say, I mean, come on, has UCLA been the same?
No.
So when people say Kentucky will always be Kentucky, I've always scoffed at that. I hope it is, but it's not so simple.
Listen, let's cut to the chase, because I was going to do it at 9:30, the introduction, so that way give everybody a chance to tune in, Mr. Cutler. So we're going to cut through the chase, because in 52 hours will be the anniversary. Well, 52 and a half hours will be the anniversary of the dropping of August 28th of 2020 when it first came out. And you guys have a 4. I think somebody sabotaged you because you got a 4.5 star rating on Amazon. And I look at the 1, 2, and 3s, and they're not associated with any account. So it could have been Billy Gillespie. It could have been Hal Mummy. It could have been some other guy.
Bill Curry. Mummy. No, it's not Hal Mummy. And Bill Curry and I are friends. So he spoke here a couple of years ago, and I went to see him speak. We had a great conversation. I have never been wrong about a coach in my life more than I was Bill Curry. I thought that was the higher of hires. I was just wrong.
Well, you said something that piqued me. 2 things. The OC and the DC that should have came here. Why did they not come here? What was the reasoning?
Well, Homer Smith. Well, the short answer is I don't know, but let me tell you part of the story. Homer Smith never even came to town with Curry. So I got Curry exclusively at the Hyatt. And Dale Lindsey, who was supposed to be his defensive coordinator, came with him. And supposedly Lindsey was going to get a 5-year contract. The contract was going to be as long for Lindsey as it was going to be for Curry. And then something happened, and to tell you this day, I have no idea. Since you didn't read the book, you want to hear a really great story what happened before Curry showed up? Seriously? I walk into the Hyatt with a camera guy, right? And I'm walking past the bar, and all of a sudden I kind of hear psst, psst, and I look over, it's Evelyn Newton. And she's sitting there by herself. And I'm going, I'm trying to sneak in the Hyatt. I don't want anybody to see me. And this, I'm trying, and she goes, Ellen, got a minute? And I kind of look at her like, I'm in my hyper, run find a place on the side, wait for coach to come in, whatever. I'm just, my head's going 100 miles an hour like it usually is. And she goes, yeah, don't worry. And she looks at her watch. I'm going to come in for a while. She goes, I'll let you know when they do. Sit down, join me. So we had a lovely conversation. And then just as the conversation ended, she looked at her watch and says, you might want to get to your camera guy. I said, okay, thank you. And not seconds later, about 2-3 minutes later, Bill Curry walked in. It's a true story. I don't know why they didn't come. I've always believed that those 2 guys came, then Curry could have been the CEO, which is, I think he would have been a great CEO. I thought he was going to be one of the world's great recruiters.
Look, that's another thing I have a problem with what you said. And he was a great recruiter. Think of how Hal Mummy won with his guys after he left. That's the only thing he won with. Now we just didn't have the depth. How did he get one of the greatest DBs?
Well, no. That's recruiting.
How did he get one of the greatest DBs in the history of Louisiana to come all the way to Kentucky?
Adrian, I didn't know you played DB, and I know you're from Louisiana. That's unbelievable.
That's called recruiting.
No. Now you come strong. You be honest now. Did LSU want you?
Yes.
Did they offer you a scholarship?
Curly Hallman offered me a scholarship after the Louisiana All-Star game. Yes.
So you were honestly offered a scholarship, and you turned down a scholarship at LSU to come to Kentucky.
Yes, because Curly Hallman sucked.
So you didn't like the coach at LSU?
No, not at all.
Let me try it this way. If LSU had a coach you really liked, would you have gone there?
No.
Come on now, be honest.
No, I really was. I wasn't. Look, I live approximately less than 10 miles from LSU. My dad went to Southern. We were not LSU fans. I went to every Southern home game. Didn't touch Death Valley. Never went to a football game at Death Valley. I hated LSU.
Okay, then I get it. I get it. I won't ask you how much they paid you under the table. I won't do that. Won't
Look, it was, but I had a ton of friends that went there.
I'll bet.
Stanberry. I had guys there who I knew that went there, but it wasn't my dream school.
Okay, as a player, forget about my book for a second, our book for a second. As a player, do you guys know that guys were getting paid, some guys a lot under the table?
Oh, come on.
Clean?
Yes.
Oh, no, wait a second. See, you can't have it both ways. You're on the other side now. Okay? You're on, if you want to ask questions, you got to handle. I'll answer any question you want. Here's my point.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, you did know guys were getting paid. I did not hear yes.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Oh,
allow
yeah.
me to apologize.
Oh, well, look, that was I don't want to say the guy's name because I think he's still coaching Johnny. I just say his name. LSU had a thing with Dale Brown for one. There was a briefcase that they used to take to a recruit's houses, and the briefcase had a certain amount of money, and they popped that case, and that's how they got. I don't know if you remember that team that with Chris Jackson and Shaq. Yeah. How you think Chris Jackson got there? I didn't say that, but how do you think Chris Jackson?
Tell me.
Yeah. Vernell Singleton. Well, that was a briefcase with some money, and allegedly there was some exchange. I don't know. I wasn't there. I think I was in high school. I was a bald head, know nothing, but I do know a little.
Look, players have been paid forever under the table. And you know what's kind of funny? You talk about the hypocrisy of sports and people just not knowing sports. I've heard people say for years, well, if you gave them a little stipend and the gals who played got a couple $100 a month, that would stop cheating. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. I mean, come on. So you get enough money to get for burgers, and that's going to stop it? Somebody's going to give you $500. You say, oh, thank you very much, sir, but I'm getting $200 a month. So that's enough. I don't need your $500, and I don't want to shake your hand. I can't tell you how many people through the years go, if the guys had some money, they wouldn't do anything. I'm going, do you know anything about people and life and reality? Cheating has gone on forever. It'll always go on. It's how smooth you are at it.
And it depends on how good you are. Not everybody got paid though.
And that I know of a basketball team. I won't tell you which one. I'm not going to tell you the school. That there was a problem because there were a couple people not getting paid. Seriously, and then they found out what somebody else was getting. And by the way, from what you're saying, Van, that's happened a lot, more than people realize. That's what's interesting about all this stuff with these guys making money for was the Alabama quarterback? I can't think of the young man's name, but he hasn't taken the snap. He's got $800,000 or something like that. Yeah. Do you think? Anytime he goes out to eat, if he doesn't pick up the tab, that the offensive linemen are going to block for him? How many people come up to him and say, I want a piece of this? What kind of problems in the locker room is it going to be for this? I mean, that's why what Kentucky was trying to do, and I bet they end up doing it, to have the whole arena give to the players and split it equally. That's smart. And you know what it is? It's going to help Cal recruit more players. Yeah, Kentucky now has to be the best. Kentucky now has to be the best in making sure players get paid. Have you guys thought that far ahead?
Yeah, I don't think it would be an issue for us in the 90s. I think these kids now understand the whole I'm a stud, I have 1 million followers, and I only have 10 followers. I think they understand who's going to get more money than the other guy.
Well, there's a yes and no to it. Some do, but also what's wrong with picking up meals or helping out or giving somebody some cash? You're right, but honestly, I believe you're wrong because it's called human nature. Human nature is human nature. You're in a locker room with guys. You get that the quarterback's going to make money because you go to the NFL, the quarterback makes the money. Everybody knows that. But there are guys that don't have any money at all, and there's going to be some jealousy. It's human nature.
Well, Alan, you can't count both ways when everybody's getting paid under the table, so everybody's getting a little change, right?
Yes.
so therefore, one guy just getting a little extra change, and then everybody else is getting their daily stipend from whomever booster.
Okay, but how many of you guys talked about it though? Most people, I would think, would keep it to themselves because you don't want to create problems. It's not like you're going to go through the locker room and broadcast it. You're not going to do that. Common sense.
I don't think
Have
you
you
should. I
not?
don't think
Have you
you
not? Have you not been around 18-year-olds?
I wouldn't announce it.
18-year-old
Nobody
males?
announces how much money they get. Why would you do that?
See, thank you, Anthony. And guess what? You two don't agree again.
No, because
we never agree. Because we never agree. Because Bill Curry might not have brought the best DB in UK history or whatever he said. He wasn't even the best DB out of Louisiana. So I'm not. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Ooh, I must have said something. I'm sorry, brother. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sitting back here listening to y'all, and I like where Alan's going with it, but you sitting over there playing tiddlywinks with him because he's leading you. I like what the show Alan's putting on, man. He's speaking some truth. He's giving me to understand some things I didn't understand, and you sit doing the same old shit you do every week.
Hey, at least I'm consistent. I am consistent. You know what you're gonna get out of me every week. That's the hard.
Okay, hang on. I got a suggestion for a future show for you guys. Okay.
Okay.
You guys need to do a show. I'm being serious, by the way. And if you pull this off, it'd be very funny. Guys need to find a therapist who would come on the air with you, and as you start talking sports, have your therapist analyze you, because I like both of you, know that, but you both need help. You need help.
That's why we brought you guys on there to show we're not the craziest guys in this business.
Right. Well, Doc is the smartest one. Now the rest of the other three of us, we need help.
Well, I ended up having to listen to Alan talk just like he's talking here for the past hour every morning from 7:30 to about 8:30 to 9 for probably how long did we do that, Alan? About 3 or 4 months in a row. We hit it pretty intensely during that time.
Something like that.
But then we stretched it out over the entire 2-year process. So
wow.
I got my PhD in behind the scenes sports from Alan Cutler. He took me from a naive dentist, a fan who thought everything was all hunky dory, to the reality of money in briefcases, players fighting each other. I learned it all during that particular time.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a story that goes back. I'll tell you a story that goes back to the 70s. And I know this is true. I will not give you the names. Kentucky didn't win this recruiting battle. Did not. This was a great player. Ended up in the NBA for a long time, okay? And you know why Kentucky might not have gotten the player?
They didn't offer
Kentucky
money.
Maybe they didn't bring a briefcase.
Right.
And maybe another school who they might not have thought of didn't have a briefcase brought a briefcase. Now, and by the way, do I think what this school did was unusual? No.
Hey, Alan, we're here to sell books, right? I told Alan that if he were able to sell 100 books tonight, I'd buy all of you dinner at Jack Ruby's. Ruby's. I'm sorry,
everybody.
Jeff Ruby's, right? How's that?
Everybody go to Amazon. Go to Amazon and buy Cut to the Chase, because I need a free meal.
I can see what the daily number sales are. If we hit 100, I will personally let you guys know, because I'd love for Doc to buy the 4 of us dinner. I don't eat meat, but I'm telling you what, I don't eat meat, but I will get the biggest steak they have.
Well, let me do this then. First of all, happy birthday, Doctor.
Oh man,
yes.
Don't I like to kind of keep a low profile, so don't take this the wrong way. I'm not sure the fact that I'm spending my birthday here with you three guys. I don't know. Is my life that much of a loser that I'm having to do this?
Yes.
Yes,
it is. Especially
you're
the three
selling
of us.
books. You're selling books.
Yeah, I'm putting that as the top priority. I can have my cake later. I got a big chocolate cake laying right over here to the right. After this is over, I'm digging in. Eat your heart out, Alan Cutler. You go back to your kale greens.
Yeah.
Alan, is that Ralph Sampson story?
I didn't have kale today, but I had a lot of greens.
Is that Ralph Sampson story you just told? Is that in the book?
No, because just to put the story out without the names, And there are certain things. Okay, as a reporter, sometimes you're not sure. You're kind of sure, and then sometimes you know, and I mean but you have to be able to back it up a certain way. So there were certain things, and Doc knows a bunch of this stuff that because I would just talk at the kitchen table. Doc knows some stories that we couldn't put in the book because I might absolutely unequivocally know it's true, but you can't prove it. And I didn't write the book to
he would say
end up
right
in
before
court.
he got ready to drop one of those stories, he'd say, "Doc, turn your phone off." At that point, I knew this was going to be a good story. So I've got stories that I've got to go to my grave with.
Oh wow.
Yep. And you know what? I trust him. And that's this is really important. I don't know if you guys know this. He drove me crazy to do this book. I wasn't going to do a book. This is him driving me nuts. Do you know about that? It's a true story. And I'm glad he did. Then I drove him nuts, so I got him back. There are too many things that I couldn't tell, and that's okay. I had to come to grips with that.
And Anthony, you've kind of toyed with the idea of doing kind of a book, but I think what you realize is that, you know, what happens in the locker room should stay in the locker room a lot of the times. And as you get closer to actually making a decision of should I write this or should I not write this, then a lot of those stories that you initially thought were going to make it into the book suddenly aren't part of the book anymore. So it's not that the stories that we decided to put in there aren't good. No, they're extremely interesting, but Alan kind of went out of his way to make sure that everything was fact checked. He wasn't going to do a tell-all. He was going to essentially tell what he knew, but he wanted to make sure that what he told was absolutely correct. That was a reporter in him. That wasn't something that I actually really understood because I just wanted to get the best stories out there.
Mm.
See, that's what I was
Yeah, I
going
drove
to
him
ask
nuts
you.
about facts and figures.
Got to no, that's what I was going to ask you guys. How you guys got to the point of collaborating and writing a book right now, folks? We're talking about Cut to the Chase, a book written by Dr. Huang, out of the words of Alan Cutler, former reporter. And some of the stories are great, but I want to ask this. Cut Through the Chase, I guess the name is based off of, I guess, your most memorable moment even from me being a player, your most memorable moment as you as a reporter, are you chasing Billy Clyde down the hallway? I want to ask you this. Did you say at the beginning of this, I'm pissed off, I'm getting this story, or did it just escalate in you more the more he tried to avoid you and you just matched his intensity? Or did you go in there knowing you were going to get a scoop no matter what?
I was just going for the story. You're making this way too emotional. It's not the first time we've had a camera on a shoulder walking the story. I didn't think any of that. None of that. I was just doing my job. I didn't think
you barred through some doors, though, Alan. You barred through some doors.
So
man.
what? So what? Okay, I'll give you an example. Now, this was in a different situation. The last Derby I did, the last interview I did, Baffert had just won the Derby, and he's coming off the track. And I don't know if you guys been to the Derby, and it was raining. There's a lot of people around. Okay, and Churchill Downs, instead of blowing me out, actually helped me. Okay, they literally grabbed the belt of my photographer, walking backwards to keep him steady so I could do the interview. I wasn't thinking anything there. I was thinking this is going to be my last interview, and Churchill Downs is being unbelievable. Let me talk to Bob Baffert right after he won. He's come just right as he's come off the track. You know, they've done the ring ceremony and all that kind of stuff. And I'm getting to, and so I wasn't thinking of anything getting this story. You're just in the moment doing the story. My thing was I couldn't believe everybody quit trying to get the story. That's the part that amazed me. So no, there was none of that.
Anthony,
the only part was that. Look, when you're running a play, do you think about all these other things? You're just doing the play. I was just in the moment.
Anthony has never been in the zone, so he knows nothing of what you're talking about, Alan. So it's kind of hard for him to digest all that what you're saying.
You guys really need therapy.
I guess 25 points in the first quarter of a basketball game doesn't consistent with being in the zone, but I guess.
I mean layups. I mean, come on.
No, there was actually 4 3-pointers in that. But getting back to the book, so Dr. Wong, what was your favorite part of writing the book? Since we got 52 hours until the anniversary.
I think just part of it was I wanted to really capture Alan's personality, because when I lived in Lexington, I watched him all the time on the news. And to me, he was this larger than life guy, Groucho Marx, mustache, very boastful, very arrogant, very brash. And I was thinking, he's got to have an inside story about how this New York Jewish person from Long Island ended up here in Lexington, Kentucky for 35 years or so. So I initially wanted to get that backstory. So then when I got the media gig, I ran into Alan and we just started talking. And I said to myself, I'm going to get this story. So I pestered him. So to answer your question, it was just the idea of getting the real Alan Cutler story that intrigued me, that made me want to write this thing. Which, by the way, it debuted as #1 in basketball biographies on Kindle. And it also cracked the Amazon top 10 in sports biography. So that's amazing for a local platform that we have here, little old Lexington, Kentucky. So it speaks not only to Alan's popularity, but it speaks real highly of Big Blue Nation as a whole, that people would reach out and want to read it and buy that book initially right out of the gate.
It was also #1 on sports biographies as well as Kindle and the books itself. So you guys probably don't know this because you didn't read the book. But Doc took care of JJ, my son's teeth. And then we didn't see each other for years. And I'm walking into just, a typical Calipari press conference, and he's in the front row. And in my quietness, right?
I was in the front row, but I was off toward the side. I wanted to keep a low profile. I didn't want anybody to know that I didn't know what I was doing at that time. So I was literally trying to hide.
And I yell out, Doc, what the blank, we'll leave blank, are you doing here? And everybody died laughing, and he started blushing. And I don't know we still don't know how many years I hadn't seen you, a long time, because JJ was a teenager, so that's how it started. And then he would follow me around. And then he later said, did you notice I was following you around? No, I couldn't tell you were following me around. I'm a reporter.
I wanted to learn from the best. I wanted to learn from the best.
I got to tell you, seriously, if you guys read the book, you will learn things about Kentucky you had no idea. You had no idea. That's one. Two, you're going to know so many of the people, but there's stories in there that you didn't know. And the second thing is I think you'll find the stories leading up to how I became a broadcaster and some of the crazy, goofy stuff I did traveling before I got to Lexington. It's pretty wild and crazy. I mean, Jerry West story is like 2 pages, and it's a great life lesson. But it's my interactions with Jerry West. I grew up playing basketball with a guy named Billy Crystal. There's all kinds of things in there that I think you guys will be shocked at stories that are in there.
Well, unlike Anthony, I can read. I actually, for the first time, I have Amazon Prime, so I read it with the Kindle Reader for free, and then I bought it. So I'll just let you know that I went
you
to
bought it after reading it for free.
Yeah, because I got to give Alan a little change, so I bought it after, since I read it, I liked it. I'm like, okay, I got a little free preview. I got a free preview to say, okay, it's worth it.
Well, if you buy 99 more tonight, that we can buy 99 more tonight. And I'll buy one.
If my wife sees 5 books, I'm the shop, she might be like, "What the hell?"
Oh, you know what? He's become like the rest of us, Mr. Tough Guy on the football field, now married.
Look, I've been married 20 years for a reason, and I'm gonna stick to that plan.
I understand that. If there's only one person going to get you, then you may as well stick to it. You can't stick around when your options are copious. It's hard to do that.
You guys need therapy. You need therapy.
That was
really
good.
Bad therapy.
It
was good.
So what ways can you get? I did see it's $9.99 on Kindle, $19.99 on the book on Amazon. So there's Kindle, Amazon. What's the bookstore? Barnes and Nobles, right? Still in Barnes and Noble.
No, we've never been in Barnes and Nobles. Dealing with them was just nuts. I talked to somebody in New York, and they literally big time me. So wow. Not Barnes. We were in Joseph Beth, but this is the third time they've sold out of books. No, we don't have any books there. They're going to order again. They've been out of books since June. It's just not for the podcast, but we keep on selling books out and not being able to put them back in.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
What is the most lucrative avenue for you guys? I know sometimes there's fees involved. What's the most lucrative avenue if you were to influence a buyer? Would it be Amazon, or since you said there's no hard copies available in Fayette County?
Yeah, Amazon is also the easiest for them to get, and it's also we'll get the most residual from that if you go ahead and split that out. So,
but I got to tell you, you don't make any money with a book.
Yeah,
you really don't. I mean, I don't think we're up to 10 cents an hour, and I'm being serious. The only people
for the amount of time that we spent into it, we're in the red still, probably.
And I'm serious. I don't think we've made 10 cents an hour. I don't think it's close. We've really made no money, and that's the truth. And that's
a labor of love, Alan. It's a labor of love. We did it for the love of the game.
Well, actually,
right?
it was fun. It was fun, and it was painful because I dug deep on a lot of. I didn't sugarcoat myself. I ripped myself in a book. There's a chapter called "I'm an Idiot." I named it.
Okay.
I mean, I'm an equal opportunity ripper. Look, if you ever read the book, Anthony, see, Van knows this. When you open it up, if you ever read the book, look at the look I'm getting. Start from page 1. Look. Well, that's because he's a defensive back. Turn the pages and go through the table of contents and read the chapter names. Anthony, it is the goofiest set of chapter names you've ever seen in any book ever. And by the way, that's all Doc's credit. So we'd be taping stuff, and he says, "Hey, Alan, we got to name this something." So he started naming all the chapters goofy. Now we get to the end. Thank goodness we're about done. And he goes, "We're going to have to rename this." And I start screaming at him, Doc, what are you nuts? You're a genius. Don't you know what you've done? He has created, I'll just read a couple chapter heads, because here's what I tell people. If you get the book and start from page 1, you're blowing it. You got to look at the table of contents, because some of the stories, there's this chapter, Swimming with Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
That's a real story, swimming with Herschel Walker. I mean, the freezer bowl. I mean, where am I looking? The one who wanted to murder me? Who was it, Doc? Oh, yeah, here we go. Why Dan Marino wanted to beat me up on his wedding day. I mean, you know, so he named all these goofy things, playing tennis with John McEnroe, which is true. Didn't say it was any good. So he names all these goofy things, and I'm going, no, leave it. So we basically left it. And if you look through the names of the 129 chapters, you're going to take possession of the book, because it's going to get you curious. And then still don't go to page 1. Look at my introduction. It sets up, as a kid, why I got into this. Doc wrote his 2 cents, and he nails me. And Calipari wrote the forward, and let me tell you something, he nails me. And if you read those 3 things, it's only 5-6 pages. Van, I don't know if you did or didn't. If not, go back, and you'll think of the book totally different. Those 6 pages set up the book, and it's really fast. And we did it that way on purpose. Because if you read that and you see what I went through and how fortunate I was with all the people that I've met, it's crazy. I mean, it's 129 chapters of stories. We could have done 200 chapters.
That's what I liked about it, is that you could jump around. I'm a big Magic Johnson fan, and reading the Magic Johnson doing it why was a classic. There's some good, and that's why I really appreciate it, because I don't like reading books and then you gotta wait, and then you gotta wait. Oh, this is cool. Yeah. You gotta wait. Oh, no, I could jump around, and then I'm like, okay, well, let me
how
read
about
the ones
this?
I haven't
Hey,
got
Van,
to.
how about this? How about what Magic Johnson said about Kentucky? Do you
Yeah.
remember what he said? Okay,
Yeah.
so after all these years, the first question, I'm happy to be here, da 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 da. But you got to remember, I got like 3-4 questions because I got to go. This is halftime where everything's going on, so you got to get right to the point, whatever. So he was over and he gave Joe Hall a hug. So I said, "Hey, what do you remember about Kentucky?" And his face turned. He was still ticked off that they lost to Kentucky. The toughest game that Kentucky had, everybody forgets about this, 1978, was Michigan State. Kyle Macy hit some free throws at the end to win the game. Otherwise, Michigan State might win the national championship. And Magic said the reason why they won the national championship next year was because they played Kentucky, lost to Kentucky, and they were so fired up for the next year. And Michigan State was strong physically, but Kentucky was really strong. And so think about it. He's doing the why, was it 10 years ago, whatever it was, and he's still upset about losing to Kentucky, which knocked him out of the, knocked him out of the Final Four.
That's and that happens to all the great athletes. Anthony would know about this, that there are games that you play that you remember to this day, and it still bothers you.
Yeah. Coaches told me a long time ago, I learned from coaches, and I knew it was the same with the players. They remember the tough losses more than the wins.
That's Anthony saying. Anthony, say you're saying.
It's true.
Okay. I do remember the tough. I'm so used accustomed to winning. I am. If I can remember my very few losses, but I'm so accustomed to winning. You're absolutely right about that. I got an idea.
Isn't your thing? You hate losing more than you love winning? Isn't that your saying?
I do hate. I hate to lose more than I love to win. But I do, just because I hate reading, which I'm gonna read the book because I don't know next time I'm gonna talk to Alan Cutler, and I don't want to have to go through this again. Like you telling me I didn't read the book is going like the last time I've been influenced to do something under peer pressure, Alan. The last time I've been zero. I've never been pressured.
Stop this.
I will tell you this. I will tell you this. You want to make some money off your own product, podcast it. 15-minute segments, podcast them, boom, get you to talk about it. Because looking at you talk about them in real life is better than me looking at it on paper. But because Van, I'm not going to let Van one up me. I'm going to get me a copy as well. But I think you should podcast each chapter.
Yeah.
We've thought about that, but I'm kind of shy. I don't like to talk much.
That's I try to hold that in. I'm sorry.
I can't make this stuff up, man. But
actually, we've talked about, like, for example, an audiobook. It's 460 pages of wild and crazy stories. It would take me till Christmas to do an audiobook. And then I would ad-lib off the script and we'd get sued.
Yeah.
I'd be
that's why you do podcast.
Oh no! The rule was you never curse around a microphone. That's one, and two, because yes, I have a potty mouth. That's the old expression. When you walked inside the TV studio, you can't curse, even if you don't have the mic on. And there were Friday nights where I'm literally sprinting, which isn't very fast, into the studio or something like that, and putting the clip on while the introduction is happening. I mean, those things happen on Friday nights with shows more often than we care to admit. And you're hustling to get out there. You just get out there, and you cannot say, that's going to be on.
Wow.
I've been wanting to ask you this before we get out here, and I asked most of the legends and reporters and people that are no longer reporters, what's the most, I guess, embarrassing or like something you really don't want to remember that happened to you in the media game? Because you made me think about when you said the hot mic, and I know a hot mic can cause careers, as friendships, and everything. So,
oh sure, probably Melvin Turpin. Doc, can you think of something? I didn't hold anything back when we did this.
No, you're Alan Cutler. You're pretty much perfect. You don't have anything that you regret over the course of the years.
Thank goodness for you. Your nose doesn't grow every time you lie.
What happened with Melvin?
I learned a great lesson from Melvin. Yeah, no, it's in the book. It's no problem with it. I'm trying to give you a shorter version. I'm doing a live shot. And as a kid broadcaster doing Little League, I found out the hard way. When you're doing play-by-play of baseball, you know what the one thing you never do in between innings that's always around the ballpark? Never eat popcorn. Try doing play-by-play after eating popcorn. So I learned that right out of college. I'm just before doing a live shot, I had a soda pop there. And I'm getting a standby, and I was in the field. It was really hot. It was summertime, no excuse, whatever. And I take this huge swig and put it down, and I'm swallowing, and I still have some in my throat. Really stupid thing to do, and it's carbonated. And I never, ever, ever, ever after that ever drank something carbonated seconds before. Never did it after that. So his nickname was the Big Dipper.
Yeah.
And I think it was a preseason publication, whatever it was, or a highlight. You know, I have to go, and it didn't come out that way. And I swore I said it right. And I went back, and I still to this day think I did, by the way, but I had, saliva and pop in my mouth, and I listened to it about 50 times. And I first was honestly very defensive about it, which was dumb, but it really taught me a great lesson. And then I learned to laugh about it. But for probably 24 hours, I was so defensive. And then I made it worse, which was dumb. And then I laughed about it. And that's what helped me with Billy Gillespie. Because, they were, since you didn't read the book, Anthony, they want to fire me because of the Billy Gillespie thing. The whole truth is in there. See, they wanted to fire me. And now for about, I was fine in 48 hours. For 24 hours, it was really tight. I really didn't know if I was going to get fired or not, which in itself I tell the whole story in there. But once I got past that, you know what I immediately started doing? Making a joke about it. I mean, would it be my number one choice to be remembered more for that than anything? Of course not. But could be worse. So Bill Buckner had the ball go through his legs in 1986 in Game 6 of the World Series. Do you guys know the story?
Yeah.
Bill Buckner was a great player. Bill Buckner could run like the wind. He was a Dodger farmhand, and he ripped his ankle so bad they thought he would never play. Couldn't run again. Was a quasi-Hall of Famer, even though he couldn't beat out an infield hit when he was like the fastest guy of the group coming up. He was a great baseball player. Ball goes through his legs. Boston loses the game, but they don't lose the World Series that night. They lost in Game 7. They ruined that man's life. They ran him out of Boston. He had to stop being a coach, even in the minor leagues on the road. He ended up going back to Idaho. They made him miserable. He died of cancer. I believe, and I'm not a doctor, know anything, the stress that was put on his family for what happened to him, for the ball going through his legs, that he's always going to be remembered, that people don't remember. He was a starter for over 20 years. The guy was a great baseball player, tough and smart, whatever. And so the Billy Buckner helped me go with Gillespie tremendously. I laughed it off. I made jokes about it. Everywhere I went for months and months and months and months and months and months and for a number of years, it's all people would talk about. Yeah, I shouldn't have been wearing cowboy boots. Whatever. I would just make a joke about it. And so that could have been number one because it could have ruined me, but it didn't. That and probably Melvin Thurman. I can't think of anything else. I'm sure I did other dumb things. I mean, come on, you're behind a mic for 40-something years. You're going to do something stupid, especially the way, I'm so free with myself.
Okay, I just thought maybe we called a hot mic. I was looking for a hot mic story, but
me cursing on the air? Never cursed on the air.
You talking about your
Never.
boss, coworker, or the team that's playing?
I'll tell you a quick story. You got a Bob Huggins story. It's in the book. So when he was the UC coach, besides doing TV, I was doing Sport Talk in Cincinnati and the Bengals Radio Network. And I would do a talk show on some Saturdays where I'd lead up to UC basketball. And then after the game, I'd do sports talk till midnight after the postgame show. So producers don't really tell you what to say or do. So UC lost. Who knows who they're playing, and it's really not important. And the producer in Q says, "Hey, cut man, listen to this, but you can't use it on the air." I said, "What?" He said, "Just listen to it." I said, "Wait a second. You're telling me what I can't say?" He said, "Trust me. Listen to it. You'll know why you can't say it on the air." I said, "Okay." So Huggins sits down to do the interview. Before they go live on the air, it's in Q. So the producer can hear it to make sure the mic is working, whatever. Well, Huggins sits down, Dan's doing the play-by-play, and they're friends. And so he sits down, and I'm telling you, basically every word out of his mouth is 4 letters. And he's just going crazy. I mean, he's just going nuts. I am laughing so hard. I mean, it's just great comedy. Tears, it's like whatever. They go back in the air, hear the producer, because you hear it even through Dan's ears. Stand by. Hud shuts up. I mean, he's a pro. He's done this all the time. And Dan throws a question like, tough night, coach. And I'm laughing so hard. It's unbelievable. I don't remember. I might have gone on the floor. And then, Hugs is just going, oh, yeah, guys didn't play defense. They didn't do this. And mumbling, Hugs, he never said a bad word then. But the 2 minutes or before they went on the air would have been some of the greatest radio of all time. And apparently he did that all the time. So me in front of a mic, no. And I guess unfortunately, we had a bad incident at Channel 18 years ago with a news anchor who thought the mic was off and should have been off, and something he shouldn't have said and should have been fired, and he wasn't. So, I mean, does that happen? Sure.
Wow.
Because you can think you're off the air, but that doesn't mean the mic is not.
Yeah, that nowadays is pretty tough when you're doing everything remote and you got to send a message or somebody wants to know some off the, that's where the best conversations happen off the air. And like I said, with you never know if the person at the studio doesn't turn your mic down. It's kind of scary doing it on this remote way we're doing it now, though.
Cost the play-by-play man, veteran play-by-play man, his job in baseball.
Yeah.
That stuff started off the air. He lost his career.
It's a new day. Well,
yep,
guys, man, thanks you for joining us. Hopefully we got at least 50 books in, 75, if not. Happy birthday to Dr. Huang.
Happy birthday, Doc.
Thanks for coming out of hiding.
Thank you.
We promise you, if we promise you one thing, if you read the book, you will not be bored.
And I want to thank the legend and Alan Cutler for coming on and gracing us with y'all words.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate you having us.
Yeah,
And
thank you so much.
And Dr. Huang, you have a new book coming out soon, right?
I do. It's scheduled to debut October 19th. It's called Kentucky Passion, and in it, I write very experientially. I write with a lot of emotion. So I'm also older than dirt, so I've had a lot of these Kentucky basketball experiences. And what I've done is I've taken 52 of the most iconic moments in UK basketball history, and my goal is to be able to take you courtside with me to kind of re-experience them again. But I do have a football question for you about this team while I'm thinking about it. I'm a former dentist, so hands are very important to me. And, Anthony, you had great hands. I think you rank receiving wise, number 13 or something I read on there. Do you think that that's something that is ingrained? Can you teach somebody to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield, or is that something you just have to be naturally good at? Remember, good hands, I think, so important.
Repetition. It has to be repetition. I haven't always had sure hands, but once I caught 200-300 balls a day, I've got really good at it where I didn't have to look at it. I think it's repetition. I don't think you can show everybody, but the biggest thing I can say is repetition. Catch tennis balls, football. Just get used to getting your eyes and grasping your hands.
So you're saying that you didn't naturally have that ability until you worked at it and practiced at it.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely
He's
didn't.
lying.
That's what got me kicked off the team in Alabama. I mean, after the Alabama game, fumbling the option pitch.
He's lying. Look, he might not have been able to demonstrate it because they didn't pass on the ball in high school, and in his freshman year we didn't throw it that much. So maybe his skill set wasn't heightened at that time, but he had the skill set. It's like me telling someone I can have you run a 9-9-100. No, certain people have that skill set, and with repetition, he was already good at it. That just made him better. He was already above 95% of the people in football as far as catching the ball. So don't listen to him.
Yeah, so if you can't catch it, I don't think that's something that you can't do if you don't have a skill set. Van is right for once. Repetition.
You guys really need help. You need help. You really do.
All right, guys.
We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys coming on.
Coming on, man.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
All right.
You guys.